Hello to all fans of Naruto Lemon. I will post all Naruto Lemon Yaoi, Yuri, or Naruto Lemon stories only on the Boosty channel because Uncle YouTube condemns this. Therefore, I invite everyone who wants Naruto Lemon content to my Boosty channel. Good luck. Chapter 1, The Hidden Bond. In the heart of the Hidden Leaf Village, under the shade of ancient trees and the watchful eyes of its ancestors, two lives began to intertwine in ways that fate had meticulously designed. The day was one of anticipation and hope, a day that would be marked in the annals of the village's history as the dawn of a new era. As the sun cast its golden rays over the village, a new chapter was being written for the Uchiha and Namikaze clans. Naru Namikaze was born on a day that seemed to hold an extraordinary promise. Her birth was heralded with joyous cries and a sense of profound relief. Her mother, Kushina, was a figure of strength and tenderness, her love for her newborn daughter evident in every soft whisper and gentle touch. Her father, Minato, the fourth Hokage, looked on with pride and adoration, knowing that this child was destined for greatness. At the same time, across the village, another significant birth was unfolding. In the Uchiha household, a similar atmosphere of joy and anticipation filled the air. Fugaku Uchiha, the head of the Uchiha clan, and his wife, Mikoto, welcomed their son into the world. Sasuke Uchiha, born with the weight of his clan's legacy resting upon his tiny shoulders, was met with tears of joy and an unspoken promise of a future full of potential. The two families were united not just by proximity, but by a deep-seated friendship that transcended the usual bonds of village alliances. Minato and Fugaku had fought side by side in many battles, and their families had celebrated many milestones together. The birth of Naru and Sasuke was seen as the culmination of a bond that had been growing stronger with each passing year. From the very beginning, there was something extraordinary about the bond between Naru and Sasuke. As infants, they seemed to share a silent understanding, a connection that went beyond mere coincidence. When they were placed in their cribs side by side during their early visits, they would reach out to each other with tiny, curious hands, their eyes locking in a way that seemed to suggest they were already communicating on a level that was almost mystical. As they grew, their bond only deepened. The village soon took notice of the way the two children interacted. Where other children might have squabbled over toys, Naru and Sasuke would share with a natural ease, their laughter echoing through the Uchiha and Namikaze homes. Their rivalry was less about competition and more about mutual encouragement, each pushing the other to be better, faster, and stronger. Their early years were filled with adventures and training sessions, each experience strengthening their connection. Naru's fiery spirit and boundless energy complemented Sasuke's focused determination. Together, they were a force to be reckoned with, their skills growing rapidly as they trained under the watchful eyes of their families. Kushina and Mikoto, though different in many ways, found a deep friendship in each other's company. Their shared experiences as mothers and their joint hopes for their children's futures created a bond that was as strong as any forged in battle. They would often spend afternoons together, discussing their children's progress and the future they envisioned for them. Minato and Fugaku, while supportive of their wife's friendship, found their own ways of connecting through their children's growth. Minato would often challenge Sasuke with complex strategies and techniques, while Fugaku would offer narrow insights into the art of combat, ensuring that both children received the guidance they needed. As they entered their formative years, the village began to see glimpses of the future heroes in the making. Their childhood, though marked by the typical struggles of growing up, was also filled with moments of profound connection. They shared dreams and aspirations, each aspiring to live up to the expectations placed upon them by their families and their village. The bond between Naru and Sasuke was not without its challenges. The Uchiha clan's history and the weight of its legacy loomed large over Sasuke, while Naru's status as the Hokage's daughter brought its own set of expectations. Yet, through it all, their shared experiences and mutual support ensured that they remained each other's greatest allies. As they approached their teenage years, the bond between them would be tested in ways they could never have imagined. The trials and tribulations they would face would shape them into the warriors they were destined to become. But no matter how turbulent the journey, the connection that had begun on that fateful day of their births would remain a constant source of strength and guidance. And so, as the sun set over the Hidden Leaf Village, casting a warm glow over its streets and its people, Naru and Sasuke continued to grow, their paths intertwined in a destiny that was uniquely their own. The village watched with bated breath, knowing that these two children, bound by fate and family, were destined to leave an indelible mark on the world. Chapter 2, Childhood Rivalries. The Hidden Leaf Village bustled with activity, the streets filled with the laughter and cries of children as they played under the watchful eyes of their families. It was a time of peace, though the undercurrents of a complex world simmered just beneath the surface. Among the children running and playing, two figures stood out, their presence commanding attention even in the midst of youthful chaos. Naru Namikaze and Sasuke Uchiha, despite their tender ages, had already made their mark on the village. As they grew older, their bond became more pronounced, evolving into a rivalry that drove both to excel beyond their years. Their training sessions were the stuff of legends among the villagers, who eagerly gathered to watch the impressive display of skills and determination. At the heart of their rivalry was a deep-seated respect and affection. Naru, with her fiery spirit and infectious enthusiasm, contrasted sharply with Sasuke's calm and focused demeanor. From an early age, their interactions were a blend of fierce competition and mutual support, each challenging the other to reach new heights. Their training was a testament to this dynamic. Early mornings were spent under the tutelage of their fathers, who took a keen interest in their development. Minato would set intricate challenges for Naru, pushing her to refine her techniques and embrace her potential. His methods were demanding, but they instilled in her a sense of discipline and perseverance. Fugaku, on the other hand, imparted the secrets of the Uchiha clan's techniques to Sasuke. His training was equally rigorous, focusing on honing Sasuke's control over his Sharingan and his proficiency in taijutsu and ninjutsu. Despite the differences in their training, there was a shared goal of fostering growth and excellence in both children. The mornings were often filled with intense training sessions, but it was in the afternoons that the real magic happened. Naru and Sasuke would meet in the open fields, their eyes sparkling with a mix of excitement and determination. These sessions were less formal, but equally important, allowing them to test their skills against each other and push their limits. Their sparring matches were legendary. Naru's agility and unorthodox techniques often caught Sasuke off guard, while Sasuke's precise strikes and strategic thinking kept Naru on her toes. The ground would shake with their clashes, and the air would crackle with their chakra. Each match ended with a mixture of exhaustion and exhilaration, both children reveling in the thrill of competition. One particular afternoon, the sun cast long shadows over the training field as Naru and Sasuke faced off in their usual sparring match. Naru, her blonde hair tied back in a high ponytail, grinned with determination as she launched a series of rapid punches and kicks. Sasuke, his dark eyes focused, dodged and countered with a series of fluid movements that showcased his mastery of taijutsu. "Come on, Sasuke. You're getting slow," Naru taunted, her voice filled with playful challenge. Sasuke's lips curled into a smirk as he effortlessly blocked her attacks. "You're just getting predictable. You need to mix up your strategies if you want to catch me off guard." Their banter was a constant during their matches, adding a layer of camaraderie to their rivalry. It was a reminder that their competition was rooted in mutual respect and a desire to see each other succeed. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the field, the intensity of their training gave way to a more relaxed atmosphere. They sat on the grass, catching their breath and enjoying the brief respite from their rigorous routines. "You're getting better," Sasuke admitted, his tone begrudgingly respectful. "Your new techniques are pretty impressive." Naru beamed at the compliment, her eyes shining with pride. "Thanks. I've been working on them for a while. But you're still as good as ever." "I'm just trying to keep up." Their conversations often delved into their dreams and aspirations, revealing the depth of their bond. They spoke of becoming powerful ninjas, of protecting their village, and of the future that lay ahead. Their dreams were intertwined, each child supporting the other's ambitions and pushing them to achieve more. As the years passed, their rivalry continued to shape their development. They entered the academy together, their presence commanding attention even among their peers. Their performances in the classroom and on the training ground set a high standard, and their instructors took note of their exceptional abilities. Their rivalry extended beyond training sessions and into their academic pursuits. They competed fiercely in every test, their mutual drive to excel pushing them to study harder and perform better. Their grades and achievements were a testament to their dedication and the competitive spirit that fueled their growth. Despite their fierce competition, there were moments of profound connection. They celebrated each other's victories and provided support during challenges. Their bond, forged through years of shared experiences and mutual respect, became an unbreakable foundation for their future endeavors. One evening, as the village celebrated a festival, Naru and Sasuke stood side by side, watching the fireworks illuminate the night sky. The vibrant colors reflected in their eyes, and the excitement of the festival contrasted with the intensity of their training. "Looks like we're not the only ones who can light up the night," Naru remarked, her voice filled with awe. Sasuke nodded, a rare smile gracing his lips. "Yeah. It's nice to see something beautiful after all the hard work." Their conversation was a reminder of the balance they sought between their rigorous training and the simple joys of life. It was a moment of reflection, a chance to appreciate the bond they shared and the journey they had embarked upon together. As the festival continued, Naru and Sasuke continued to challenge each other, both in their training and in their dreams. Their rivalry, while fierce, was rooted in a deep-seated connection that went beyond mere competition. It was a bond that would continue to shape their futures and define their paths. The chapter of their childhood rivalry was just one part of a larger story, a story that would unfold as they faced new challenges and adventures. Their journey was far from over, and the lessons they learned through their rivalry would play a crucial role in the trials and tribulations that lay ahead. Chapter 3: Tragedy Strikes. The Hidden Leaf Village had always been a place of both tranquility and tension, a land where the everyday joys of life were tempered by the shadows of conflict. But in one fateful night, the balance of peace was shattered, and the echoes of that night would resonate through the lives of its inhabitants for years to come. It was a crisp autumn evening when the Uchiha clan's legacy was obliterated. The streets were quiet, the leaves rustling gently in the breeze, when the massacre began. The moon, high in the sky, was the only witness to the horrors that unfolded within the walls of the Uchiha district. Naru and Sasuke were just children, their world still filled with the innocence of youth. They had spent the day training and laughing, their bond as siblings growing stronger with each passing hour. The night brought with it an air of normalcy that was quickly upended by the chaos that erupted. Naru, in her bed, had fallen into a deep sleep when she was abruptly woken by the sound of distant screams. Her heart raced as she sat up, sensing that something was terribly wrong. She hurriedly dressed and made her way to Sasuke's room, only to find him already up, his face pale and his eyes wide with fear. "Sasuke, what's happening?" Naru asked, trying to keep her voice steady, despite the dread building in her chest. "I don't know," Sasuke replied, his voice barely more than a whisper. "But it sounds like something terrible is happening." Before Naru could respond, the door to their room was flung open, and Fugaku Uchiha burst in, his expression a mix of urgency and sorrow. "Naru, Sasuke, you need to come with me now," he said, grabbing them both by the arms. "We have to leave the house. It's not safe here." As they fled into the night, the once familiar surroundings of the Uchiha district had become a scene of horror. The sounds of battle and the cries of the dying filled the air. Naru clung to Sasuke, her heart aching for the safety of her family and her friend. Fugaku led them to a hidden safe house, a place that had been prepared for emergencies like this, but it was clear that their safe haven was not as secure as they had hoped. The hours stretched on, each minute feeling like an eternity. Naru and Sasuke huddled together, their fear and confusion palpable. When morning finally broke, the reality of the massacre became apparent. The Uchiha district was a ghost town, the streets littered with the remnants of a once proud clan. The sight of the devastation was overwhelming, and the weight of their loss settled heavily on Naru and Sasuke's young shoulders. Sasuke's grief was raw and unfiltered. The loss of his family, the destruction of his home, and the betrayal of his own clan were too much for him to process. He retreated into himself, unable to find solace in anything but his overwhelming desire for revenge. Naru, despite her own anguish, did her best to be a source of comfort for Sasuke. She stayed by his side, trying to offer support and understanding even when words felt inadequate. The bond they had shared as siblings now took on a new significance, as Naru found herself assuming a role of caretaker for the emotionally shattered Sasuke. Days turned into weeks, and the Uchiha clan's tragedy became the subject of intense scrutiny and investigation by the village leaders. Naru and Sasuke were placed in temporary care, their lives disrupted by the tragedy that had struck so suddenly. They were surrounded by sympathy and concern from the villagers, but none of it could fill the void left by their loss. Naru watched as Sasuke struggled with his emotions. He would often retreat to a corner of the house, staring off into space with a vacant expression. He would not speak, not even to her, and the silence between them was heavy with unspoken pain. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the world was bathed in the soft glow of twilight, Naru found Sasuke sitting alone on the rooftop of their temporary residence. She approached him cautiously, sitting down beside him and offering a gentle smile. "I know it's hard," Naru said softly, her voice carrying a note of empathy. "I can't pretend to understand what you're going through, but I'm here for you. We're in this together." Sasuke turned to her, his eyes reflecting the depth of his grief. "I don't know how to move on," he admitted, his voice breaking. "Everything is gone. My family, my home. I don't know what to do." Naru placed a comforting hand on his shoulder, her own eyes brimming with tears. "We'll find a way," she promised. "We have to. For the sake of everyone we lost, we need to keep going. And we need to be there for each other." As the days passed, Naru's steadfast support began to have an effect. Sasuke's emotional walls, while still formidable, began to show cracks. He started to talk more, sharing his feelings and his memories of his family. Naru listened, her presence a constant reminder that he was not alone in his suffering. Despite the tragedy that had befallen them, the bond between Naru and Sasuke grew stronger. They found solace in their shared pain. And their connection became a source of strength as they navigated the aftermath of the massacre. The road ahead was uncertain, but with each other's support, they began to forge a path through the darkness. The scars of that night would remain with them forever, but their shared experiences and the strength of their sibling bond provided a glimmer of hope in the face of overwhelming sorrow. Together, they faced the future, their resolve to honor the memory of their lost loved ones strengthening with each passing day. Chapter 4, Paths Diverge. The Hidden Leaf Village had begun to heal from the scars left by the Uchiha massacre, yet beneath the surface, the wounds were far from healed. Sasuke Uchiha, now bearing the weight of his clan's destruction, had retreated further into himself, consumed by a singular obsession, revenge. Naru Namikaze, his sister by fate and choice, struggled with the growing chasm between them. The days following the massacre had been a blur of pain and confusion. Sasuke's transformation was subtle at first, quiet withdrawal, fewer words spoken, and a brooding presence that seemed to darken with each passing day. It was clear to everyone that he was deeply affected, but his family and friends could only watch helplessly as he spiraled into obsession. Naru tried her best to support Sasuke. She spent hours talking to him, trying to reach the part of him that still felt and cared. She attempted to distract him with training sessions, hoping that physical exertion would ease his mind. But every attempt to bridge the growing gap between them seemed to fall short. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the village, Naru and Sasuke stood atop a hill overlooking Konoha. The sky was painted in hues of orange and purple, a stark contrast to the heaviness that weighed on their hearts. "Sasuke," Naru began softly, her voice trembling slightly. "You've been pushing everyone away. We're all here for you. We want to help you, but you need to let us in. Sasuke turned to her, his eyes dark and hollow. I don't need anyone's help. I need to get stronger. I need to find the ones responsible for this and make them pay. Naru's heart sank at his words. She had heard the same sentiment repeatedly, but each time it cut deeper. This isn't the way, Sasuke. Revenge won't bring them back. It won't heal the pain. It will only drive you further away from those who care about you. He shook his head, frustration evident in his expression. You don't understand. You never will. I need to do this for myself. I need to avenge them. The argument that followed was one of their most heated. Naru pleaded with him, trying to make him see reason, but Sasuke's resolve was unshakable. As the days passed, his obsession grew, and he began distancing himself from his friends, his training becoming increasingly intense and secretive. Then came the day when Sasuke made his final decision. He announced his departure from the village with a cold resolve, a decision that left Naru reeling. The entire village was shocked. The prodigious Uchiha, leaving in search of power and vengeance, was a significant blow. Naru, unable to reconcile with his departure, confronted him one last time. They stood at the gates of Konoha, the place that had been their home and sanctuary. The night was heavy, the sky a deep shade of indigo, and the only sound was the distant murmur of the village that Sasuke was about to leave behind. Are you really going to do this? Naru's voice cracked with emotion. You're throwing away everything we've worked for, everything we've built together. Sasuke's gaze was distant, his determination unwavering. This is something I have to do on my own. I can't stay here any longer. I need to become stronger, and I can't do that with everyone holding me back. The finality in his voice was like a dagger to Naru's heart. She reached out, grabbing his arm in a desperate attempt to stop him. Please, Sasuke. Don't go. You're my brother. I need you here, not out there chasing shadows. Sasuke looked at her, his expression softening for just a moment. I'm sorry, Naru. But this is something I have to do. Maybe one day you'll understand. With that, he turned and walked through the gates, leaving Naru behind. She stood there, frozen, her heart heavy with a mixture of grief and frustration. She had lost her brother to a path she couldn't follow, and the village had lost a precious member of its own. In the weeks that followed, Naru tried to focus on her own training and responsibilities. She threw herself into her missions, using them as a distraction from her pain. But the void left by Sasuke's departure was a constant reminder of the rift between them. The village was buzzing with speculation about Sasuke's departure. Some viewed it as a betrayal, while others saw it as a personal struggle that they could only hope would lead to his eventual return. Naru found herself in the middle of these discussions, struggling to maintain a semblance of normalcy while dealing with her internal turmoil. Despite her efforts to stay strong, there were moments when the weight of Sasuke's absence felt unbearable. She missed their training sessions, their conversations, and the bond they had shared. The nights were the hardest, as she lay awake, replaying their last conversation and wondering if there was something she could have said or done differently. As time went on, Naru's resolve hardened. She couldn't afford to wallow in her grief. If Sasuke was going to seek power on his own, then she needed to ensure that she was strong enough to face whatever challenges came her way. She vowed to herself that she would continue to grow stronger, not just for her own sake, but for Sasuke's as well. She hoped that, wherever he was, he would see the strength she was building and be reminded of the bond they once shared. And so, with a heavy heart but a determined spirit, Naru continued her journey. She faced her own challenges, honed her skills, and carried on with the hope that one day, her brother would return and that they would find their way back to each other. The path they walked was now separate, but the memory of their shared past and the bond they once had would always remain a guiding light in her heart. Chapter 5, Reunion. The moon hung high in the night sky, its silvery light casting long shadows over the barren landscape. The world was quiet, save for the occasional rustle of leaves and the distant chirping of nocturnal creatures. Naru Namikaze, now a highly skilled ninja, stood atop a hill, her eyes scanning the horizon. She had spent years training relentlessly, honing her skills, and now she was searching for someone she hoped she might never have to confront. Her mission had taken her far from Konoha, into territories she had rarely ventured. Rumors had reached her that Sasuke Uchiha, her estranged brother, was traveling with a group of renegade ninjas. She had followed these leads with unwavering determination, hoping to find Sasuke and bring him back home. The weight of her duty and personal feelings intertwined, creating a sense of urgency and conflict within her. Naru's thoughts were interrupted by a flickering light in the distance. She narrowed her eyes and moved stealthily through the underbrush, approaching the source. Her senses were on high alert, the area was unusually quiet, which set off her instincts. As she neared, the silhouettes of several figures became visible around a campfire. Among them, one figure stood out, draped in dark clothing and emanating a palpable aura of power. Sasuke. Her heart ached at the sight. He was older now, his appearance a mix of the boy she had known and the hardened warrior he had become. She took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. With a final glance at the campfire, she stepped into the clearing, her presence revealing itself. Sasuke's head snapped up, his eyes meeting hers. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. The air crackled with tension as recognition dawned on him. "Naru," he said softly, his voice a mixture of surprise and something else, perhaps regret or sorrow. The others in the camp looked on with curiosity, sensing the significance of the encounter but unsure of its context. Naru's gaze was fixed on Sasuke, her emotions swirling. "Sasuke," she began. Her voice steady despite the turmoil inside. "I've been looking for you. You need to come back to Konoha." Sasuke's eyes darkened, and he stood up, his posture rigid. "Why would I go back? There's nothing for me there. I'm here to gain the strength I need to avenge my clan." Naru's heart clenched at his words. "You're consumed by your quest for revenge. This isn't you, Sasuke. It's not what our family would have wanted." The firelight flickered across Sasuke's face, casting shadows that made his expression harder to read. "You don't understand. You didn't see what I saw. You didn't lose everything like I did." Naru's frustration boiled over. "You're right. I didn't experience the same loss. But I've watched you change, watched you become someone who's lost sight of everything that mattered. I'm here because I care about you, because you're still my brother." A tense silence followed, broken only by the crackling of the fire. Sasuke's companions exchanged glances, sensing the gravity of the situation, but unsure of how to intervene. Finally, Sasuke spoke, his voice quieter but filled with resolve. "I've made my choice. I'm not going back." Naru took a step forward, her eyes pleading. "Sasuke, please. There's still a chance to turn things around. We can work together to find a solution, to honor our family's memory without this path of destruction." Sasuke's gaze softened briefly, but his resolve remained. "I can't go back to the life I had before. I need to find my own way." The weight of his words hit Naru like a physical blow. She could see the depth of his pain and the determination in his eyes. The realization that she couldn't convince him to return immediately was a bitter pill to swallow. In a final attempt, Naru reached out, her hand almost touching his arm. "I'm not here to fight you, Sasuke. I'm here to bring you home. Please, just come with me. We can work this out." Sasuke's eyes met hers with a mixture of sadness and determination. "I'm sorry, Naru. This is something I have to do on my own." With that, he turned away, signaling to his companions. They began to gather their belongings, preparing to leave. Naru watched helplessly as Sasuke walked away, the distance between them widening with each step. As the group disappeared into the night, Naru stood alone in the clearing, the weight of the confrontation heavy on her shoulders. Her heart was torn, but she knew she couldn't give up. Sasuke was lost, but not beyond reach. She had to find a way to bring him back, to help him heal and rediscover the bond they once shared. With a heavy sigh, Naru turned and began her journey back to Konoha. The road ahead was uncertain, but she was determined to find a way to save her brother from the path he had chosen. The reunion had been painful, but it was a step toward understanding and, hopefully, reconciliation. As dawn began to break, casting a pale light over the landscape, Naru's resolve hardened. She would not rest until she had found a way to bring Sasuke back, to heal the rift that had grown between them, and to restore the bond that had once been so strong. The path ahead was fraught with challenges, but Naru was ready to face them, for the sake of her brother and their shared future. Chapter 6, The Truth Revealed. The forest was silent except for the occasional rustle of leaves and the distant hoot of an owl. Naru walked purposefully along a narrow, winding path, her thoughts consumed by recent events. Her last encounter with Sasuke had left her heart heavy with uncertainty and concern. She was determined to find answers, not only for herself but also for Sasuke, who seemed to be slipping further into darkness. Naru's search had led her to a remote hideout deep in the forest. The location was rumored to be a base for those who had supported Sasuke's quest for power. She had managed to track down the place through a series of clues and informants. Now, standing before the entrance of a concealed cave, she steeled herself for whatever revelations lay ahead. With a deep breath, she pushed the heavy stone door open and stepped inside. The air was cool and damp, and the flickering light from torches cast eerie shadows on the walls. Naru moved cautiously through the winding tunnels, her senses alert to any sign of danger. Her goal was to find Sasuke and understand what drove him so far from the path they once shared. As she turned a corner, she found herself in a large chamber. The space was dimly lit, with several figures gathered around a central table covered in maps and documents. Sasuke was among them, his posture rigid and his expression one of intense concentration. He looked different, more weary, but with an edge of determination that spoke of his obsession with his goals. Naru hesitated, hidden in the shadows. She could hear snippets of the conversation as she approached. Sasuke was discussing plans and strategies with his companions, his voice low and commanding. The gravity of his situation was evident, but so was the distance he had put between himself and the people he once cared about. One of the figures at the table, a tall, hooded man, looked up suddenly. "We have reports of increased activity in the Eastern Territories. It seems the remaining members of the Akatsuki are mobilizing." Sasuke nodded, his gaze fixed on the map. "We need to be prepared. Their involvement could complicate our plans significantly." Naru's heart pounded as she realized the scale of Sasuke's ambitions. He was no longer just seeking revenge, he was entangled in a larger web of conflict that threatened to pull the entire world into chaos. The burden of his choices weighed heavily on her as she watched him, her feelings of anguish mingling with a fierce resolve. Before she could process her emotions, one of Sasuke's companions noticed a disturbance. "Who's there?" the man called out, his eyes scanning the darkened edges of the chamber. Naru had no choice but to reveal herself. She stepped into the light, her face set with determination. "It's me, Sasuke." Sasuke's head snapped up, and his eyes widened with surprise and something akin to pain. "Naru, what are you doing here?" The room fell silent, the tension palpable. Naru took a step forward, her voice steady, despite the turmoil inside. "I came to understand. I need to know why you've chosen this path. Why are you willing to risk everything, including the peace of the world, for revenge?" Sasuke's expression was a mask of conflicted emotions. He looked away, his gaze dropping to the table. "You wouldn't understand. You haven't seen what I've seen. You don't know what I've lost." Naru's eyes softened. "You're right, I didn't experience the same loss. But I'm still your sister. I care about you. I want to understand what's driving you." Sasuke's shoulders slumped slightly, and he looked up at her, his eyes filled with a mixture of frustration and sadness. "I've seen the darkness that lies behind the facade of peace. The Uchiha clan's destruction was only the beginning. There's a deeper rot within the world, one that I need to eradicate." Naru shook her head, her voice breaking with emotion. "But this isn't the way. You're becoming what you despise." Revenge and power will not bring back what you've lost. They won't heal the wounds you carry. Sasuke's face hardened, but there was a flicker of doubt in his eyes. You don't know what it's like to be consumed by this. To feel the weight of a whole clan's legacy on your shoulders. Naru stepped closer, her voice gentle but firm. I may not fully understand your pain, but I do know that we can find a way to honor our family's memory without destroying everything around us. You're my brother, Sasuke. I'm here to help you find a path that doesn't lead to further darkness. The room was filled with a heavy silence. Sasuke's companions exchanged uncertain glances, sensing the deep emotional exchange between the siblings. Sasuke's gaze flickered to the map, then back to Naru. The conflict within him was evident, but he remained silent, struggling to reconcile his desires with the truth she presented. Naru continued, her voice a whisper of hope. Please, Sasuke. Come back with me. Let's find another way to make things right. We can work together to bring about the change you seek without losing ourselves in the process. Sasuke's eyes closed briefly, and he took a deep breath. When he looked at Naru again, there was a new determination in his gaze. I need time to think. You've given me a lot to consider. Naru nodded, understanding the weight of his words. I'll be here, waiting. But remember, there's always a place for you back home. We're still family. With that, Naru turned and walked away, leaving Sasuke to ponder her words. As she made her way back through the tunnels, she felt a mix of relief and apprehension. The road ahead was uncertain, but she had taken a crucial step toward reaching her brother. The future remained uncertain, but the bond between them had been reaffirmed, giving her hope that Sasuke could find his way back to the light. Chapter 7, Teamwork in Crisis. The sun had barely risen over the Hidden Leaf village when the urgent message arrived. The village was under threat from an unknown enemy, a shadowy force that had been gathering strength for weeks. The Hokage, worried about the safety of the village, called upon all available ninjas to defend their home. Naru, now a seasoned and skilled ninja, received her orders and quickly assembled her team. The village was in chaos as the news spread. Villagers were evacuated, and shinobi were mobilized. Naru and her team moved swiftly, preparing for the inevitable confrontation. Her heart ached with the knowledge that Sasuke was somewhere out there, possibly as a part of this growing threat. As she geared up, she could not shake off the worry that her brother might be involved. Meanwhile, Sasuke was deep in thought, hidden in the dense forest surrounding Konoha. He had heard rumors of the impending attack and had initially planned to stay out of it. However, as he reflected on the state of the world and the recent changes, he couldn't ignore the nagging feeling that he needed to act. His own quest for power and revenge seemed insignificant compared to the possibility of larger-scale destruction. Sasuke decided to investigate the situation, hoping to get a clearer picture of the threat. As he approached the village, he saw the flames and heard the sounds of battle. His heart conflicted with the sight before him. He had always thought of Konoha as his home, and seeing it in such a state of distress tugged at his emotions. Naru, leading her team, had managed to hold back the initial wave of attackers. She coordinated with other squads, her mind focused and her movements precise. The enemy was fierce and well-organized, but they had no clear strategy or central leadership, which made them vulnerable to tactical maneuvers. Amid the battle, Naru caught sight of a familiar figure. Sasuke was fighting alongside the enemy, his eyes cold and determined. A wave of emotion surged through her, anger, sadness, and a deep sense of betrayal. She couldn't understand why he would side with the attackers, but she knew she had to push those feelings aside and focus on the task at hand. Sasuke, on the other hand, was struggling with his own internal conflict. He had always respected Naru's strength and determination, and seeing her fighting with such bravery made him question his decisions. Yet, he had committed to this path, and he was torn between his duty and his family. The battle intensified as the enemy launched a second wave. Naru and Sasuke were forced into a direct confrontation. Their fight was both physical and emotional, filled with unresolved tension and unspoken words. Each strike and jutsu exchange carried the weight of their shared past and the pain of their separation. "Why are you doing this, Sasuke?" Naru shouted, her voice tinged with frustration and desperation. "Why are you fighting against your own village?" Sasuke's response was cold and detached. "You wouldn't understand. The world needs to change, and if that means tearing down what I once called home, so be it." Naru's heart sank. "This isn't you, Sasuke. This isn't the brother I knew. There's another way. We can still protect our home without causing destruction." For a brief moment, Sasuke's resolve faltered. The intensity of their fight seemed to bring back memories of their childhood, their shared dreams, and their bond as siblings. But the weight of his decisions and the path he had chosen pushed him to maintain his stance. Suddenly, a powerful enemy figure appeared, leading a charge that threatened to overwhelm both sides. Naru and Sasuke were momentarily forced to put aside their conflict and face the new threat together. The enemy was stronger and more organized than they had anticipated, and their combined skills were required to fend off the assault. During the battle, Naru and Sasuke found themselves fighting side by side, their movements synchronized as they worked together to counter the enemy's strategies. Their combined abilities were formidable, and they managed to push back the enemy forces. The temporary truce between them was fragile but necessary for survival. As the battle raged on, Naru caught glimpses of the struggle within Sasuke. She saw moments of hesitation and pain in his eyes, revealing the internal conflict he faced. Despite his outward coldness, she could sense that he was not entirely lost to his darker ambitions. When the battle subsided and the enemy retreated, Naru and Sasuke found themselves standing amidst the wreckage. The village had suffered significant damage, but the immediate threat had been quelled. The villagers and shinobi worked to assess the situation and provide aid. Sasuke stood apart, his gaze distant and contemplative. Naru approached him cautiously, her heart torn between relief and frustration. She knew that their encounter had not resolved their issues, but it had opened a window of opportunity for dialogue. "Why did you help us?" Naru asked quietly. "Why did you fight alongside us, even if only for a moment?" Sasuke looked at her, his expression a mixture of weariness and regret. "Because, despite everything, I still care about this place. I still care about you. But my path is set, and I cannot turn back now." Naru's eyes softened. "We're still family, Sasuke. Even if we're on different paths, we can still find a way to help each other. There has to be a way for us to protect what we love without destroying everything in the process." Sasuke remained silent, his gaze shifting to the horizon. The weight of his choices hung heavily upon him, and he knew that his journey was far from over. But for now, he had witnessed the strength of his sister's convictions and the resilience of his village. As the sun set on the battlefield, Naru and Sasuke parted ways once again. The battle had brought them face to face with their shared pain and unresolved issues, but it had also shown them glimpses of hope and the possibility of reconciliation. The road ahead would be long and uncertain, but for the first time in a while, both siblings had a renewed sense of purpose. Chapter 8: The Power of Bonds. The sun was beginning to set over the Hidden Leaf village, casting long shadows over the still smoldering remnants of the recent battle. Naru and Sasuke had managed to hold off the enemy forces, but their respite was short-lived. The village was in ruins, and the sense of urgency was palpable as the shinobi continued to regroup and prepare for the next wave. Naru and Sasuke found themselves standing on the outskirts of the village, their breathing heavy and labored. They had fought side by side, a strange and tenuous partnership forged through necessity. Despite their earlier conflicts, they had discovered a new level of understanding and cooperation between them. The battlefield had a way of breaking down barriers, revealing the strength of their bond. Naru glanced at Sasuke, her eyes searching for any sign of the brother she once knew. He was different, hardened by his experiences, his eyes reflecting a deep-seated pain that was both familiar and foreign. Yet, amidst the chaos, she saw glimmers of the same Sasuke she had grown up with, the one who had once been her closest companion. "Sasuke," she began, her voice steady despite the exhaustion. "We need to find out who's behind this attack. There's something more going on here, and I have a feeling it's not just about causing chaos. Sasuke nodded, his expression unreadable. I agree. The enemy's tactics are too organized. This isn't just a random attack. There's a larger strategy at play. As they made their way through the village, Naruto and Sasuke encountered other shinobi and villagers who were still recovering from the attack. The sight of the devastation was a stark reminder of the stakes they faced. The village, their home, was in dire need of protection, and they couldn't afford to waste any time. Have you noticed anything unusual? Naruto asked as they moved through the rubble. Any sign of where the enemy might have come from or where they're headed next? Sasuke's eyes narrowed in concentration. There were reports of a strange energy signature during the battle. It's faint, but it seems to be emanating from the northern forest. If we investigate, we might find something that can lead us to the source of this attack. Naruto agreed, and the two set off towards the forest. The journey was fraught with tension, each step bringing them closer to the unknown. The forest was dense and dark, the canopy above filtering the fading light into eerie patterns on the ground. As they ventured deeper, the sense of danger grew stronger. Suddenly, they were ambushed by a group of masked shinobi, their movements swift and precise. Naruto and Sasuke immediately fell into a fighting stance, their coordination evident as they countered the enemy's attacks. The battle was intense, with both sides evenly matched. Despite their exhaustion, Naruto and Sasuke fought with a renewed sense of purpose, their bond allowing them to anticipate each other's moves and cover each other's weaknesses. In the midst of the fight, Naruto felt a surge of power she hadn't experienced before. It was as though the connection she shared with Sasuke was amplifying her abilities, giving her strength she hadn't known she possessed. Sasuke, too, seemed to be drawing on a similar source of power, his movements fluid and precise. Together, they managed to subdue their attackers, but the encounter left them with more questions than answers. As the last of the masked shinobi were defeated, Naruto and Sasuke stood amidst the aftermath, their breathing heavy and their minds racing. We need to figure out what's causing this, Naruto said, her voice tinged with determination. There's something more to this attack, and we need to get to the bottom of it. Sasuke nodded, his gaze focused. Agreed. But first, we should rest and regroup. We're pushing ourselves too hard, and we need to be at our best if we're going to uncover the truth. They made their way back to the village, their spirits buoyed by their shared victory and the growing sense of unity between them. The bond they had rediscovered on the battlefield was proving to be a powerful force, one that was helping them overcome the challenges they faced. As they approached the village, Naruto and Sasuke were greeted by the sight of their fellow shinobi working to rebuild and recover. The determination and resilience of their comrades served as a reminder of why they fought, to protect their home and the people they cared about. With the immediate threat temporarily subdued, Naruto and Sasuke began to plan their next steps. They knew that the enemy would not rest, and neither could they. The connection they shared, now more powerful than ever, was their greatest asset in the fight ahead. As the night fell over the village, Naruto and Sasuke prepared for the challenges that lay ahead. Their bond, tested in the fires of battle, had become a source of strength and hope. Together, they would face whatever came next, determined to protect their home and each other. #### Chapter 9, Secrets and Lies. The moon cast a pale light over the Hidden Leaf village, illuminating the remnants of the recent battle. Despite the calm that now reigned over the village, the atmosphere was charged with anticipation. Naruto and Sasuke had returned from their confrontation with the masked shinobi, but their journey had only deepened their resolve to uncover the truth. Sasuke led Naruto to a secluded clearing at the edge of the village, away from prying eyes. The forest around them was eerily quiet, as though it too was holding its breath in anticipation. The weight of the unspoken hung between them, a heavy shroud of tension that neither could ignore. "Tell me everything," Naruto said, her voice firm but tinged with concern. "I need to know what's going on, Sasuke. Why are these attacks happening? What are you not telling me?" Sasuke's expression was guarded, his gaze fixed on the shadows cast by the moonlight. He took a deep breath, as if gathering his thoughts before revealing what had been buried in the depths of his heart. "There's more to the Uchiha massacre than you know," he began, his voice low and solemn. "What I've learned, it's not just about revenge. It's about a much darker conspiracy that runs deeper than the massacre itself." Naru's eyes widened, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and curiosity. "What are you saying? What's really behind all of this?" Sasuke turned to face her, his eyes reflecting the pain and determination that had driven him. "The Uchiha massacre was orchestrated by someone with a hidden agenda. The Itachi we knew, he was a pawn in a larger game. The real enemy is someone who sought to control the Uchiha clan and manipulate events to their advantage." Naru took a step closer, her concern growing. "Who is this enemy? What do they want?" "It's not just one person," Sasuke explained. "It's a group with far-reaching influence. They've been manipulating events behind the scenes for years. The attack on the village was part of their plan to destabilize Konoha and create chaos. They want to weaken the village from within and seize control." Naru's mind raced as she absorbed the gravity of Sasuke's revelations. "Why didn't you tell me this before? Why keep it a secret?" Sasuke's gaze faltered, a flicker of regret crossing his face. "I didn't want to drag you into this. I thought I could handle it on my own. But I see now that we need to work together if we're going to stop this threat." Naru reached out and placed a reassuring hand on Sasuke's shoulder. "We're in this together. If there's a threat to the village, we need to face it head-on. We can't let these people tear us apart." Sasuke nodded, his expression softening. "Thank you, Naru. I've been so consumed by my quest for revenge that I lost sight of what's truly important. But with you by my side, I feel like we have a chance to make things right." The two siblings stood in silence for a moment, the weight of their shared mission settling over them. The forest seemed to close in around them, the darkness broken only by the pale light of the moon. "We need to gather more information," Naru said, breaking the silence. "Find out who's behind this conspiracy and what their next move might be. If we're going to stop them, we need to act quickly." Sasuke agreed, and the two set off on their new mission with a renewed sense of purpose. They knew that the road ahead would be fraught with danger, but they were determined to uncover the truth and protect their village from the unseen threats lurking in the shadows. As they ventured deeper into the forest, the sense of unity between them grew stronger. The trials they had faced had forged a bond that was unbreakable, and they were ready to confront whatever challenges lay ahead. The secrets they had uncovered were just the beginning, and their journey was far from over. Little did they know, the true scope of the conspiracy was even more intricate than they could have imagined. The shadows they were chasing held secrets that would test their resolve and challenge their beliefs. But with their bond as their guide, Naru and Sasuke were prepared to face the darkness together and fight for the future of their village. As the night wore on, the forest seemed to pulse with a hidden energy, echoing the unspoken promises and the silent vows of the two siblings. Their path was set, and they would walk it together, no matter the cost. Chapter 10, Healing Wounds. The cool evening breeze swept through the hidden leaf village as Naru sat on the rooftop of her childhood home, gazing up at the stars. The events of the past few weeks had left her feeling drained, physically and emotionally. The village was still in recovery after the battles they had fought, but it was her heart that bore the heaviest scars. Sasuke's revelations about their family, the truth behind the Uchiha massacre, had shaken her to her core. She hugged her knees to her chest, her mind replaying everything Sasuke had told her. The village elders, the dark forces at play, the manipulations, everything had been a lie. It was all designed to break the Uchiha clan apart, to weaken them. And Sasuke, consumed by the need for justice, had fallen into a path of darkness that nearly destroyed him. But now, after their last battle and their shared moment of vulnerability, she sensed a shift in Sasuke. For the first time in years, she saw glimpses of the brother she once knew, hidden beneath the hardened exterior he had built. It wasn't just about revenge anymore, there was something deeper, something more fragile stirring within him. As if on cue, she heard soft footsteps behind her. She didn't need to turn around to know who it was. Naru, Sasuke's voice was quiet, almost hesitant. She shifted slightly but kept her gaze fixed on the stars. "You've been avoiding me since the last battle," she said, her voice soft but steady. "I figured you'd come around eventually." Sasuke walked over and sat down beside her, leaving a respectful distance between them. His posture was tense, his eyes scanning the village below. The silence stretched between them, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It was filled with all the things they didn't know how to say. "I didn't know how to face you," Sasuke admitted after a long pause. His voice was quieter than usual, as though the weight of his words was too heavy to speak aloud. "After everything. After all that I've done." Naru sighed deeply, finally turning to face him. Her blue eyes, once filled with anger and confusion, now held only a deep sadness. "I'm not here to make you feel guilty, Sasuke. I just want to understand. I want to know if you're truly ready to start healing." Sasuke's jaw clenched, his dark eyes clouded with emotion. "I've been fighting for so long, against the world, against the village, and against myself. But I don't know if I'm capable of healing. How can I, after everything I've done?" Naru reached out, placing a hand on his shoulder. The simple touch held more meaning than words could convey. "You can," she said firmly. "I believe in you. We've been through so much, and despite all of it, I still see the good in you. But you have to want it, Sasuke. You have to want to heal." Sasuke looked down at the ground, his expression conflicted. "It's not that simple, Naru." "I know it's not," she replied, her voice soft but filled with conviction. "But you're not alone in this. You never were. I've been here the whole time, waiting for you to come back." For the first time in a long while, Sasuke allowed himself to feel the weight of his sister's words. He had spent so many years trying to convince himself that he didn't need anyone, that his path was his alone to walk. But now, sitting beside Naru, he felt the tiniest crack in the walls he had built around himself. "I've hurt so many people," Sasuke said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know if I can ever make up for it." Naru's grip on his shoulder tightened slightly, her eyes filled with a mixture of empathy and determination. "You can't change the past, Sasuke. But you can decide what you do from here. You've made mistakes, big ones, but that doesn't mean you can't find redemption. We all make mistakes. What matters is how we choose to move forward." Sasuke was silent for a long time, his thoughts a storm of conflicting emotions. Part of him wanted to believe her, to accept the possibility of healing and redemption. But another part of him, the part that had been forged in the fires of betrayal and loss, resisted. Could he really change? Could he really let go of the darkness that had consumed him for so long? Naru seemed to sense his inner turmoil. She withdrew her hand, giving him the space he needed. "You don't have to decide everything right now," she said gently. "But I want you to know that I'm here. I'm not giving up on you, Sasuke. I never have, and I never will." Her words lingered in the air, a quiet promise that carried more weight than any grand declaration. Sasuke's chest tightened, an unfamiliar emotion stirring within him. It wasn't guilt or anger, but something more fragile, something that felt dangerously close to hope. They sat in silence for a while longer. The cool night air wrapping around them. The stars above twinkled faintly, offering a quiet reminder of the vastness of the world beyond their personal struggles. "I don't know if I'm ready," Sasuke said finally, his voice barely audible. "That's okay," Naru replied, her voice soft but steady. "Healing takes time. But the first step is realizing that you don't have to carry everything on your own." Sasuke glanced at her, his dark eyes searching hers for something he wasn't even sure he could name. For the first time in years, he allowed himself to truly see her, not just as the determined and strong shinobi she had become, but as the sister who had always believed in him, even when he couldn't believe in himself. "I'll try," Sasuke said quietly, his voice filled with uncertainty, but also a tentative hope. "I don't know if I can, but I'll try." Naru's smile was small but genuine. "That's all I'm asking for." They stayed on the rooftop for a while longer, watching as the village slowly began to settle into the quiet of the night. The lights in the houses dimmed one by one, and the sounds of life faded into a peaceful silence. It was a rare moment of calm after the storm of recent events, a moment where the weight of their shared past seemed a little lighter. As the night deepened, Naru finally stood up, stretching her arms above her head. "We should get some rest," she said, her tone light but filled with affection. "Tomorrow's a new day, and who knows what kind of trouble we'll get into." Sasuke managed a small smirk, his lips twitching at the corners. "Knowing you, probably more than we can handle." Naru chuckled, the sound warm and genuine. "That's the spirit." They made their way back inside, the silence between them now comfortable and familiar. As they each headed to their respective rooms, Naru paused at her door, glancing back at Sasuke. "Good night, Sasuke," she said, her voice soft. Sasuke nodded. "Good night, Naru." The door clicked shut behind her, leaving Sasuke alone with his thoughts. He stood in the hallway for a moment, the quiet of the house settling around him. He wasn't sure what tomorrow would bring, but for the first time in a long while, he felt like there was a chance, however small, that things could be different. As he lay down in his bed, the weight of his past still lingered, but it didn't feel as suffocating as it once had. There was still so much he needed to face, so many wounds that needed to heal, but maybe, just maybe, he didn't have to do it alone. And with that thought, Sasuke allowed himself to drift into a restless, but hopeful sleep, the faint echoes of Naru's words guiding him through the darkness. Chapter 11, A New Threat. The tranquility of the Hidden Leaf Village was abruptly shattered by the arrival of a new threat. The early morning sun had barely crested the horizon when alarms rang out, echoing through the streets. Naru was jolted awake by the frantic noise, her heart racing. She quickly donned her ninja gear and rushed to the village square, where the commotion was thickest. She found the village leaders gathered, their faces grim. Among them were Kakashi, Tsunade, and a few other key figures. The atmosphere was tense, and Naru's anxiety only grew as she approached. "What's happening?" she asked, her voice urgent. Kakashi turned to her, his expression serious. "A new enemy has emerged, one we haven't encountered before. They're unlike any threat we've faced. We need all available ninjas to prepare for a defense." Tsunade stepped forward, her demeanor authoritative. "The enemy has already shown their strength by launching an attack on the outer villages. Their motives are unclear, but they're powerful. We can't afford to underestimate them." Naru's mind raced as she processed the information. Her recent struggles with Sasuke had made her acutely aware of how vulnerable their village could be, despite its strength. She glanced at Sasuke, who had arrived at the scene, his expression reflecting a mix of determination and concern. "What's our strategy?" Naru asked, trying to steady her nerves. "We need to fortify our defenses and gather intelligence on the enemy," Tsunade said. "We're organizing teams to scout and engage. Sasuke, you'll lead a team to the outer perimeter to investigate any possible incursions." Naru looked at Sasuke, who met her gaze with a nod. She knew that this was not only a test of their individual skills, but also of their ability to work together as a team. As the village mobilized, Naru and Sasuke found themselves working side by side. They set out towards the outer edge of the village, where reports of enemy sightings had been most frequent. The journey was quiet, each step filled with the weight of impending danger. "Have you heard anything about this enemy?" Naru asked as they traveled. "Any details about their abilities or numbers?" Sasuke shook his head. "Not much. The scouts have reported that they're skilled in both taijutsu and ninjutsu, and they seem to have a strategy that's designed to outmaneuver us. It's a coordinated effort." Naru frowned. "That's troubling. It sounds like they're not just aiming to cause chaos, but to dismantle our defenses systematically." As they reached the outer perimeter, the first signs of the enemy became apparent. The landscape was marked with the aftermath of recent skirmishes, craters, broken trees, and scorched earth. Sasuke and Naru split their team into smaller groups to cover more ground, each prepared for a potential encounter. The tension in the air was palpable as they moved stealthily through the area, their senses alert for any signs of the enemy. It wasn't long before they spotted the first few attackers, shadowy figures blending seamlessly with their surroundings. "Stay sharp," Sasuke whispered to his team. "We don't know what we're up against yet." The enemy struck swiftly, their movements coordinated and precise. Naru fought alongside Sasuke, their teamwork evident in their seamless coordination. Despite their growing familiarity with each other's fighting styles, the enemies proved to be a formidable challenge. Naru engaged in combat with one of the enemy ninjas, her movements fluid and precise. Her heart pounded as she used every skill she had honed over the years. The enemy ninja was relentless, their attacks swift and unforgiving. Naru could see the determination in their eyes. These weren't random attackers, but warriors with a purpose. Meanwhile, Sasuke faced off against another enemy, his Sharingan active and glowing fiercely. He used his skills to anticipate the enemy's moves and counter them with precision. Despite the enemy's strength, Sasuke's resolve was unwavering. The battle raged on, and it became clear that this was only a preliminary skirmish. The enemy's true strength lay in their ability to coordinate and adapt, making them a difficult opponent. After what felt like hours of intense fighting, the enemies began to retreat, their strategic goal accomplished for the time being. Sasuke and Naru regrouped with their team, their faces marked with the grime of battle, but their spirits resolute. "We need to get back to the village and report," Sasuke said, his voice edged with frustration. "We've only scratched the surface of what they're capable of." Naru nodded, her own frustration mirrored in her expression. "We need to prepare for more attacks. This isn't over." As they made their way back to the village, the weight of the new threat settled heavily on their shoulders. The enemy's presence was a stark reminder of the fragile peace they had fought so hard to protect. But with each challenge, Naru and Sasuke's bond grew stronger, and their resolve to protect their home and loved ones deepened. The battle had only just begun, and the path ahead was fraught with uncertainty. But as long as they faced it together, Naru knew they had a chance to overcome the darkness that threatened their world. Chapter 12, The Ultimate Sacrifice. The night was unnaturally still, the calm before the storm that was about to descend upon the Hidden Leaf village. Naru stood atop the Hokage monument, her eyes scanning the horizon for any sign of the impending threat. The air was thick with tension, the usual sounds of the village subdued by the weight of the looming conflict. She could feel Sasuke's presence beside her. A silent assurance that they would face whatever came together. Suddenly, a piercing scream shattered the silence. Without hesitation, Naru sprang into action, her kunai drawn and senses heightened. She raced down the steps of the monument, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and determination. Beside her, Sasuke moved with the same urgency, his Sharingan activated and eyes darting to assess the situation. They arrived at the scene to find a group of rogue ninjas attacking the village's central stronghold. Flames licked the sides of buildings, and the air was thick with smoke and the acrid scent of burning wood. Villagers scrambled for safety, their faces etched with terror as they fled the chaos. Naru and Sasuke exchanged a glance, understanding the gravity of the situation. They were up against a formidable enemy, more organized and ruthless than any they had faced before. "Stay close," Sasuke ordered, his voice steady, despite the chaos around them. "We need to protect the civilians first." Naru nodded, her eyes narrowing as she took in the sight of the attackers. These ninjas were different, more disciplined, their movements synchronized in a way that suggested a higher level of training and coordination. It was clear they were not mere bandits, but part of a larger, more sinister organization. As they moved through the chaos, Naru and Sasuke encountered several of the rogue ninjas, engaging them with swift and precise attacks. Their teamwork was seamless, a testament to the bond they had forged through countless battles and shared hardships. Yet, despite their efficiency, the enemy seemed endless, their numbers overwhelming. In the midst of the battle, a towering figure emerged from the shadows, a commander, clad in dark armor adorned with ominous symbols. His presence exuded an aura of power and malice, sending a chill down Naru's spine. He raised his hand, summoning a massive wave of chakra that surged towards the village center with devastating force. Enough, the commander bellowed, his voice echoing through the chaos. We will not be stopped. The Hidden Leaf village will fall, and with it, the legacy of the Uchiha and Namikaze clans. Naru felt a surge of anger and determination. You won't get away with this, she declared, her voice resolute. Sasuke stepped forward, his Sharingan blazing with intensity. We won't let you destroy what we've built. Stand down, and leave peacefully. The commander laughed, a sound devoid of any humanity. Peace? You speak of peace while your village is burning. There is no peace for those who betray their true nature. With a flick of his wrist, the commander unleashed a barrage of devastating jutsu, the sheer force of which threatened to obliterate everything in its path. Naru and Sasuke moved in tandem, their movements a blur as they deflected and countered the attacks. The battlefield became a whirlwind of fire, lightning, and sheer willpower, each side fighting with everything they had. As the battle raged on, Naru found herself facing off against a particularly ruthless opponent, his techniques relentless and deadly. She fought valiantly, but it became clear that she was outmatched. Just as the enemy was about to land a fatal blow, Sasuke intervened, his eyes meeting hers with a mixture of concern and determination. Take cover! Sasuke shouted, using his lightning-fast reflexes to shield Naru from the attack. The enemy's jutsu collided with Sasuke's barrier, sending a shockwave through the area. Naru could see the exhaustion etched on his face, the toll the battle was taking on him. But there was no time to rest. The commander was advancing, his intent clear. He reached out, his hand crackling with dark energy, preparing to unleash his most powerful attack yet, a forbidden jutsu that could potentially destroy the entire village in one fell swoop. Sasuke's eyes widened with realization. He's going to use the ultimate destruction jutsu, he said, his voice tight with urgency. If he succeeds, nothing will survive. Naru felt a chill run down her spine. She knew the gravity of the situation. This was the ultimate sacrifice, a desperate move that could cost them everything they held dear. Without hesitation, she stepped forward, placing herself between the commander and the village center. Sasuke, she called out, her voice filled with determination. Don't let him do this. We have to stop him together. Sasuke hesitated, torn between his duty to protect the village and the fear of losing his sister in the process. The weight of the decision pressed heavily upon him, but in that moment, he saw the unwavering resolve in Naru's eyes. She was willing to sacrifice herself to save their home, to prevent further destruction. No, Sasuke replied firmly, his Sharingan blazing with renewed strength. We do this together. Together, they launched a combined assault against the commander. Naru used her mastery of wind and fire jutsu, creating a whirlwind of flames that swirled around their enemy, while Sasuke unleashed a barrage of lightning strikes that illuminated the darkened battlefield. Their attacks complemented each other perfectly, each sister bolstering the other's strengths. The commander fought back with ferocity, but the combined power of Naru and Sasuke was overwhelming. With a final, desperate effort, the siblings coordinated their attacks, channeling their chakra into a devastating barrage that shattered the commander's defenses. The dark armor began to crack, the ominous symbols fading as the power of their bond tore through the malevolent force. As the commander let out a final, defiant scream, the energy from the ultimate destruction jutsu was neutralized by the sheer force of their combined abilities. The dark aura dissipated, leaving behind only the lingering smoke of battle. Breathing heavily, Naru and Sasuke stood side by side, their bodies bruised and battered, but their spirits unbroken. The village, though scarred, remained intact, the immediate threat vanquished by their unwavering bond. The aftermath of the battle was a mix of relief and sorrow. Villagers emerged from their shelters, eyes wide with gratitude and awe as they witnessed the resilience of their protectors. Naru and Sasuke, though exhausted, felt a profound sense of accomplishment and unity. They had faced the ultimate sacrifice together and had emerged victorious, their bond stronger than ever. As the village began to rebuild, Naru and Sasuke found a moment of quiet amidst the chaos. They stood atop the Hokage monument once more, watching the sunrise over the horizon. The sky was painted in hues of orange and pink, a symbol of hope and new beginnings. Sasuke, Naru began, her voice soft but filled with emotion. We did it. We stopped them together. Sasuke nodded, a rare smile gracing his lips. We did. I couldn't have done it without you. Naru reached out, placing a hand on his shoulder. We're a team. No matter what comes our way, we'll face it together. Sasuke looked down at her, his eyes filled with a mix of pride and affection. I'm glad you're here, Naru. I was so close to losing myself, but you helped me find my way back. Naru squeezed his shoulder gently. That's what siblings are for. We're stronger together. As they stood together, the village slowly coming back to life around them, Naru and Sasuke knew that their journey was far from over. There would always be new challenges and threats, but with their bond as their foundation, they were ready to face whatever the future held. The ultimate sacrifice they had made for their village had not only saved their home, but had also reaffirmed the unbreakable bond between them, a bond that would guide them through the darkest of times and into a future filled with hope and resilience. Chapter 13, Rebuilding the Future. The morning sun rose gently over the Hidden Leaf village, casting a warm golden hue on the rooftops and streets that had once been marred by recent battles. The air was filled with the scent of blooming flowers and freshly tilled earth, a stark contrast to the chaos and destruction that had dominated the village in the past weeks. As the village began to stir with life, a sense of hope and renewal permeated the air. Naru Namikaze and Sasuke Uchiha stood together on the Hokage monument, overlooking the village they had both fought so hard to protect. The bond between them had been tested and reforged through countless trials, from their shared childhood to the dark days of the Uchiha massacre, and now, in the aftermath of their recent battles, their connection had only grown stronger. Naru turned to Sasuke, her eyes reflecting a mixture of exhaustion and pride. We did it, she said softly, her voice tinged with relief. We managed to protect the village and stop the threats that endangered everything we held dear. Sasuke nodded, his expression thoughtful. It wasn't easy, he admitted. But we couldn't have done it without each other. Our bond is what made the difference. Their journey had been long and arduous, filled with moments of doubt, pain, and triumph. From the initial bond of childhood friendship, through the darkness of the Uchiha massacre, the divergence of their paths, and the eventual reconciliation, Naru and Sasuke had grown stronger together. Their shared experiences had forged a bond that was unbreakable, a connection that allowed them to face any challenge as a united front. As they descended the steps from the monument, the village square came into view. The central stronghold, once under attack, had been restored, its walls fortified to withstand future threats. The Hokage's office, a symbol of leadership and protection, stood tall and proud, a beacon of hope and resilience. Kakashi, Tsunade, and the other village leaders greeted them, their faces reflecting the same mixture of relief and determination that Naru and Sasuke felt. The bond between the siblings was evident in their interactions, a silent understanding that had been strengthened through the trials they had faced together. We couldn't have done this without you both, Tsunade said, her voice warm with gratitude. Your efforts have not only saved the village, but have also inspired others to keep fighting for what's right. Naru smiled, a genuine warmth in her eyes. We're all in this together. It's the strength of our community that makes us strong. Sasuke, standing beside her, added, and the bonds we share. We've seen what we can accomplish when we work together, when we trust and support each other. The village leaders exchanged approving glances, their respect for the siblings evident. The path ahead was still uncertain, with new threats looming on the horizon and the ever-present need to protect their home. But for now, there was a moment of peace, a chance to reflect on what they had achieved and to plan for the future. As the day progressed, Naru and Sasuke took on various tasks to aid in the rebuilding efforts. Naru focused on organizing support for the villagers, ensuring that everyone had the resources they needed to recover. She moved with a grace and efficiency that had become her trademark, her leadership inspiring those around her to work with renewed vigor. Sasuke, on the other hand, took a more tactical approach. He coordinated with the shinobi to fortify defenses, develop strategies to prevent future attacks, and train new recruits to prepare for any potential threats. His experience and insight were invaluable, and his presence brought a sense of security to those who had once feared him. Throughout the day, the siblings found themselves reflecting on their journey. The bond they had rekindled had grown stronger, and their mutual respect and understanding had deepened. They had learned to balance their differences, using their unique strengths to complement each other in ways they had never imagined. As evening approached, the village gathered for a communal meal, a tradition that had been maintained through generations. The communal spirit was palpable, the villagers sharing stories, laughter, and a sense of unity that transcended the hardships they had faced. Naru and Sasuke sat together at the head of the table, their presence a symbol of hope and resilience. Naru watched as Sasuke interacted with the villagers, his once distant and aloof demeanor softened by the genuine connections he was forming. It was a side of him that she had never seen before, a side that was healing and open to the possibility of a brighter future. After the meal, the village elders called for a meeting to discuss long-term plans for rebuilding and defense. Naru and Sasuke were invited to speak, their insights and experiences invaluable to the discussion. As they took their places among the leaders, the room filled with a sense of purpose and determination. We need to ensure that our village is not only rebuilt but also prepared for any future threats, Naru began, her voice clear and confident. This means enhancing our defenses, but also fostering a sense of unity and support within our community. We need to continue training, to empower the next generation of shinobi to protect what we've built. Sasuke nodded in agreement. Additionally, we need to gather intelligence on potential threats. The recent attacks have shown us that there are organized groups with significant resources and influence. We must be proactive in identifying and neutralizing these threats before they escalate. The meeting was productive, the leaders brainstorming and collaborating on strategies to strengthen the village's defenses and ensure its continued prosperity. Naru and Sasuke contributed their ideas and insights, their teamwork a shining example of what could be achieved when differences were set aside and goals were aligned. As the night deepened, the village returned to its activities, the sense of hope and determination driving them forward. Naru and Sasuke found themselves walking through the quiet streets, the soft glow of lanterns casting a warm light on their path. "Thank you for everything, Sasuke," Naru said softly, her eyes meeting his. "I couldn't have asked for a better partner, a better brother." Sasuke smiled, a rare and genuine expression. "Thank you, Naru. For believing in me, for not giving up. We make a good team." They walked in companionable silence, the bond they shared a silent promise of the future. The village, once again peaceful, stood as a testament to their strength and resilience. But even in this moment of calm, they knew that challenges would continue to arise, that the path of a shinobi was never truly easy. As they reached the entrance of the village, they paused, looking out over the land they had fought so hard to protect. The sun was beginning to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, a symbol of hope and new beginnings. "We have a long road ahead," Sasuke mused, his eyes reflecting the fading light. "But I'm ready to face it with you by my side." Naru nodded, her heart filled with a sense of fulfillment and hope. "Together, we can overcome anything. Our bond is our greatest strength." As the night embraced the village, Naru and Sasuke walked home, their hearts united and their spirits unbroken. They had faced their demons, conquered their fears, and emerged stronger than ever. The future was uncertain, but with each other, they were ready to embrace whatever challenges lay ahead. The process of rebuilding was slow and arduous, but each step forward was a victory in itself. The village thrived once more, its streets bustling with life and its people united in their shared purpose. The lessons learned from the past were woven into the fabric of the community, a reminder of the strength found in unity and the power of familial bonds. Naru and Sasuke continued to lead by example, their actions inspiring others to find strength in their connections and to work together for the greater good. They established training programs, community support systems, and defense protocols to ensure that the village was not only restored but also fortified against future threats. Their journey was far from over, but the bond they shared had become the cornerstone of their strength. Together, they faced the challenges of leadership, navigating the complexities of their roles with grace and resilience. They had learned to balance their personal struggles with their responsibilities to the village, finding harmony in their dual roles as siblings and protectors. As the seasons changed, the village flourished under their leadership. The scars of the past remained, but they were no longer a source of pain but a testament to the resilience and unity of the Hidden Leaf village. Naru and Sasuke had transformed from rivals and estranged siblings into a formidable team, their bond serving as a beacon of hope and strength for all who called Konoha home. One evening, as the sun set over the village, casting a golden glow on the rooftops, Naru and Sasuke stood together on the rooftop of the Hokage's office. The village below was alive with activity, the sounds of laughter and life filling the air. "We've come a long way," Naru said, her voice filled with pride. "But there's still so much to do." Sasuke nodded, his gaze fixed on the horizon. "Yes. We have to stay vigilant, keep training, and continue to protect our home. The world is always changing, and we need to be ready for whatever comes next." Naru smiled, her eyes shining with determination. "And no matter what happens, we'll face it together. Our bond is unbreakable, and as long as we have each other, we can overcome anything." Sasuke reached out, placing a hand on her shoulder. "I'm grateful for you, Naru. For everything." Naru looked up, meeting his gaze with a warm smile. "I'm grateful for you too, Sasuke. We make a great team." As they stood together, the village basked in the warm light of the setting sun, a symbol of the peace and prosperity they had worked so hard to achieve. Their journey had been filled with challenges, but through it all, their bond had remained a source of strength and inspiration. With the promise of a brighter future ahead, Naru and Sasuke turned to face the village, ready to continue their journey as siblings, leaders, and protectors of the Hidden Leaf village. The path ahead was unknown, but their united front and unbreakable bond ensured that they were prepared to face whatever came their way. Chapter 13, Rebuilding the Future, continued. The days turned into weeks as Naru and Sasuke dove headfirst into the task of rebuilding the village. Their efforts were tireless, each day bringing new challenges and opportunities to strengthen the community. They coordinated with various teams, ensuring that every aspect of the village's restoration was meticulously planned and executed. Naru took charge of the community support programs, setting up aid stations for those who had lost their homes or loved ones in the attacks. She worked closely with the village healers, organizing medical camps and providing resources for mental health support. Her compassionate leadership earned her the respect and admiration of the villagers, who saw her not just as a skilled ninja but as a beacon of hope. Meanwhile, Sasuke focused on enhancing the village's defenses. He spearheaded the training programs, teaching new recruits the skills they needed to protect their home. His tactical mind and deep understanding of enemy strategies were invaluable, and he quickly gained a reputation as a formidable leader. Under his guidance, the shinobi of Konoha grew stronger and more cohesive, their training sessions becoming more advanced and effective. One afternoon, as Naru was overseeing the reconstruction of a damaged building, Sasuke approached her with a thoughtful expression. "Naru, we need to discuss the new defense protocols we've been implementing." Naru looked up, wiping her hands on her uniform. "Of course. What's on your mind?" Sasuke took a deep breath, choosing his words carefully. "The recent attacks have shown us that our enemies are not only powerful, but also highly organized. We need to anticipate their moves and stay one step ahead. I've been working on a new surveillance system that can help us monitor potential threats more effectively." Naru nodded, intrigued. "Tell me more about it. How will it work?" Sasuke outlined his plan, explaining the technical details of the surveillance system he had developed. It involved the use of advanced genjutsu techniques to create illusions that could intercept and monitor enemy movements without being detected. The system would provide real-time intelligence, allowing the village to respond swiftly to any emerging threats. "That sounds promising," Naru said thoughtfully. "But we need to ensure that it's secure. If the enemy discovers how it works, they could potentially turn it against us." Sasuke nodded in agreement. I've already taken precautions to encrypt the data and prevent unauthorized access. Additionally, I plan to train a select group of shinobi to manage and maintain the system, ensuring that only trusted individuals have control over it. Naru smiled, impressed by Sasuke's foresight. You've thought of everything. This could be a game-changer for our defenses. As the weeks passed, the surveillance system was successfully implemented, significantly enhancing the village's ability to detect and respond to threats. The shinobi of Konoha felt a renewed sense of security, knowing that they were better prepared to face any challenges that came their way. In addition to their strategic efforts, Naru and Sasuke focused on fostering a sense of unity within the village. They organized community events, bringing together shinobi and villagers alike to celebrate their resilience and strengthen their bonds. These gatherings were a testament to the power of collective effort and the importance of supporting one another in times of need. One evening, as the village celebrated a festival to commemorate their recent victories and the progress of their rebuilding efforts, Naru and Sasuke found a moment of quiet amidst the festivities. They sat together beneath a blooming cherry blossom tree, the delicate petals fluttering in the gentle breeze. Sasuke, Naru began, her voice soft but filled with warmth. I'm proud of everything we've accomplished. The village is healing, and we're stronger than ever because of our efforts. Sasuke looked at her, his eyes reflecting a mixture of pride and gratitude. I couldn't have done it without you, Naru. Your leadership and compassion have been instrumental in bringing the community together. Naru smiled, her gaze meeting his. We make a great team. Our strengths complement each other, and our bond is what keeps us grounded. Sasuke reached out, placing a hand on her shoulder. I've learned a lot from you, Naru. About trust, about resilience, and about the importance of family. I never thought I'd find someone who could understand me the way you do. Naru returned his gesture, her grip gentle but firm. And I've learned the power of determination and strategy from you. We've grown so much together, and I'm grateful for that. Their conversation was a moment of reflection and mutual appreciation, a testament to the journey they had undertaken together. The challenges they had faced had not only strengthened their bond but had also allowed them to grow individually, each becoming a better leader and protector for the village. As the festival continued around them, the lights twinkling in the twilight and the sounds of laughter filling the air, Naru and Sasuke knew that their work was far from over. There would always be new threats to face and new challenges to overcome, but they were confident in their ability to handle whatever came their way. The success of their rebuilding efforts was a reminder of what they could achieve when they worked together, putting aside their differences and focusing on the greater good. The village had emerged from the darkness, its spirit unbroken and its future bright. One evening, as the festival wound down and the villagers returned to their homes, Naru and Sasuke walked together through the now restored streets. The transformation was remarkable, buildings that had been damaged were repaired, gardens were replanted, and the vibrant energy of the community was palpable. Do you ever think about what the future holds? Naru asked, her voice contemplative. Sasuke glanced at her, a thoughtful expression on his face. All the time. I used to think it was just about surviving each day, but now I realize it's about building something lasting. About creating a legacy that we can be proud of. Naru nodded, her eyes fixed on the horizon. Yes. We've been through so much, but we've come out stronger on the other side. Our experiences have shaped us, but they don't define us. We have the power to choose our own path. Sasuke smiled, a rare and genuine expression that held a sense of hope. You're right. And as long as we have each other, we can face whatever comes our way. Our bond is our greatest strength. They continued their walk, the cool night air enveloping them as they navigated the familiar streets with a renewed sense of purpose. The village, once again thriving, stood as a testament to their resilience and unity. The lessons they had learned and the bonds they had forged would guide them through whatever challenges lay ahead. As they reached the outskirts of the village, where the dense forest met the open fields, Naru turned to Sasuke. There's still so much we can do to improve and protect our home. Let's continue to work together, to make sure that the Hidden Leaf remains a place of peace and prosperity for generations to come. Sasuke nodded, his eyes shining with determination. Absolutely. We've proven that we can overcome any obstacle when we stand together. Let's keep building on that foundation. With that, they walked back towards the heart of the village, their steps confident and their hearts filled with hope. The future was bright, and with their bond as their guiding light, Naruto and Sasuke were ready to embrace whatever came next. As the night deepened, the village settled into a peaceful slumber, the quiet serenity a stark contrast to the turmoil of the past. Naruto and Sasuke knew that challenges would always be a part of their lives, but they were no longer afraid. Together, they had built something stronger than any threat they might face, a community united by love, resilience, and the unbreakable bond of family. The journey of rebuilding was not just about restoring what had been lost, but about forging a new path forward, one that honored their past while embracing the promise of the future. Naruto and Sasuke stood as symbols of that promise, their unwavering commitment to each other and their village a beacon of hope for all who called Konoha home. And so, as the stars twinkled above and the village hummed with life, Naruto and Sasuke looked towards the horizon, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Their bond, tested and strengthened through adversity, was their greatest asset, a source of strength and hope that would guide them through the darkest of times and into a future filled with endless possibilities. The future was theirs to shape, and with their combined strength and unbreakable bond, Naruto and Sasuke were ready to embrace it together. Chapter 14, Family and Forgiveness. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the Hidden Leaf village as the evening settled in. The sky blazed with hues of orange and pink, a vivid reminder of the tranquility that had returned after so much strife. The village was bustling with activity as people prepared for the evening's gathering, a festival dedicated to celebrating their resilience and unity. Naruto and Sasuke walked side by side, their presence drawing warm smiles and nods of respect from the villagers. The scars of their recent battles were still fresh, but so was the hope that had emerged from their struggles. As they approached the main square, they were greeted by familiar faces, friends, allies, and family members whose support had been instrumental in their journey. Kakashi and Tsunade were at the forefront, overseeing the final preparations for the festival. The atmosphere was filled with a sense of camaraderie, a reflection of the community's strength and unity. Music and laughter echoed through the streets, mingling with the aroma of delicious food and the glow of lanterns hung along the pathways. Naruto and Sasuke joined their friends, taking a moment to reflect on the journey that had brought them to this point. They had faced immense challenges, but it was the journey of forgiveness and reconciliation that had truly tested their resolve. The wounds of the past, both physical and emotional, were being mended as they embraced the future together. As they walked through the crowd, Sasuke's eyes were drawn to a familiar figure standing near the edge of the square, Itachi. The elder Uchiha brother had returned to the village, and the sight of him brought a mixture of relief and apprehension. Itachi's presence was a reminder of the complex history that had shaped their lives, but it also signified the possibility of healing old wounds. Naruto noticed Sasuke's reaction and placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "It's time to confront the past and find closure," she said softly. "We've come so far, and this is a chance for us to heal as a family." Sasuke nodded, taking a deep breath as he approached Itachi. The two brothers stood facing each other, the weight of their shared history hanging between them. Itachi's expression was solemn but not unkind, and there was a sense of understanding in his eyes. "Brother," Itachi began, his voice carrying the weight of years of regret and sorrow. "I know that no words can undo the pain I've caused, but I want to make amends. I hope that, in time, you can find it in your heart to forgive me." Sasuke's gaze softened as he looked at Itachi. "It's not about forgetting what happened," he said, his voice steady. "It's about understanding and moving forward. I've come to realize that holding on to anger only weighs us down. We need to find a way to move past the pain and rebuild what was lost." Their conversation was intimate, a moment of vulnerability and honesty that allowed them to confront their past. Itachi acknowledged the mistakes he had made, and Sasuke spoke of the struggles he had faced in coming to terms with his own emotions. It was a dialogue that offered a sense of closure, an opportunity for both brothers to acknowledge their past and look towards a future where they could coexist with a renewed sense of understanding. As the festival continued, Naruto and Sasuke found themselves surrounded by friends and allies who had supported them throughout their journey. Among them were Sakura, Naruto, and other members of their team, each contributing to the celebration in their own way. The camaraderie and joy of the evening were a testament to the strength of their bonds and the power of forgiveness. The festival was a time of celebration, but it was also a moment for reflection. Naruto and Sasuke took time to speak with other villagers, expressing their gratitude for their unwavering support. They acknowledged the contributions of those who had helped them rebuild the village and offered their thanks for the encouragement and strength they had received. As the night wore on, the festival reached its peak with a grand fireworks display. The sky was illuminated with vibrant colors, each explosion of light symbolizing the triumph of hope and renewal over darkness and despair. The sight was breathtaking, a reflection of the resilience and spirit that had defined their journey. Naruto and Sasuke stood together, watching the fireworks with a sense of accomplishment and contentment. The challenges they had faced had been immense, but they had emerged stronger and more united than ever before. Their journey of healing and forgiveness had not only transformed their own lives, but had also brought a renewed sense of hope to the village. In the glow of the fireworks, Naruto turned to Sasuke, her eyes filled with warmth. "We've come so far," she said. "And we've done it together. The future is ours to shape, and I believe we're ready for whatever comes next." Sasuke smiled, his gaze reflecting the same sense of optimism. "We've learned that the strength of our bonds is what makes us truly unstoppable. As long as we stand together, we can face any challenge that comes our way." As the festival drew to a close, Naruto and Sasuke looked towards the horizon with renewed hope. Their journey had been one of growth, understanding, and forgiveness, and they were ready to embrace the future with open hearts and unwavering determination. The village was healing, and so were they, as they prepared to face whatever challenges lay ahead as a united family and a symbol of hope for all. Chapter 15, New Beginnings. The first light of dawn gently kissed the rooftops of the Hidden Leaf Village, heralding a new day filled with promise and hope. The air was crisp and fresh, carrying the scent of blooming cherry blossoms that had been meticulously replanted in the weeks following the recent threats. The village stood as a beacon of resilience, its streets bustling with life and its people united in their efforts to rebuild and thrive. Naruto Namikaze and Sasuke Uchiha stood side by side on the balcony of the Hokage's office, overlooking the village they had both fought so fiercely to protect. The bond between them, once strained and tested through countless trials, had been reforged into an unbreakable alliance. Their journey had been long and arduous, but it had culminated in a profound understanding and mutual respect that would guide them into the future. Naruto took a deep breath, savoring the tranquility that now enveloped the village. "We've come so far, haven't we?" she mused, her voice filled with a mixture of pride and relief. Sasuke nodded, his gaze fixed on the horizon where the sun was beginning to rise, painting the sky in hues of gold and pink. "Yes, we have. It's incredible to see how much we've achieved together. The village is stronger than ever, and so are we." Their journey had been marked by significant milestones, the rekindling of their sibling bond, the uncovering of dark secrets behind the Uchiha massacre, the battles that tested their strength and resolve, and the ultimate triumph over the threats that had once seemed insurmountable. Each chapter of their story had been a testament to their growth, both as individuals and as a united front. As the sun continued its ascent, casting a warm glow over the village, Naruto and Sasuke began to discuss the future plans for Konoha. Their roles had naturally evolved into those of leaders, guiding the village towards a brighter and more secure tomorrow. "We need to ensure that what we've built here continues to flourish," Naruto began, her eyes reflecting determination. "This means not only maintaining our defenses, but also fostering a culture of unity and support. We've seen firsthand how crucial our bonds are, both within our team and with the villagers." Sasuke agreed, his strategic mind already formulating plans. "I've been thinking about enhancing our training programs. We need to prepare the next generation of shinobi not just in combat, but also in leadership and diplomacy. They should be equipped to handle both internal and external threats with the same resilience we've demonstrated. Naru smiled, impressed by his forward-thinking approach. That's a great idea. We can integrate more comprehensive training modules and perhaps even establish mentorship programs where experienced shinobi can guide the younger ones. It's about building a legacy of strength and unity. Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Kakashi Hatake, the sixth Hokage, who had been overseeing the rebuilding efforts alongside them. His presence was a reminder of the enduring leadership that had kept the village safe through numerous challenges. Naru, Sasuke, Kakashi greeted them warmly. I wanted to check in and see how things are progressing. The village has made remarkable strides, and it's thanks to the efforts of leaders like you both. Naru and Sasuke exchanged a glance, their shared experiences creating a silent understanding between them. Thank you, Kakashi, Naru replied. We're just ensuring that we maintain our momentum and continue to support the village in every way possible. Sasuke added, we've also been working on new defense strategies and training programs to prepare for any future threats. The village is in good hands. Kakashi nodded approvingly. I'm confident that with your leadership, Konoha will continue to thrive. It's heartening to see the bond between you two translate into such effective teamwork and guidance for the entire village. As Kakashi departed, Naru and Sasuke resumed their discussion, now with a renewed sense of purpose. Their partnership had become the cornerstone of the village's strength, and their ability to lead with both compassion and strategic prowess set a powerful example for all. Later that day, the village gathered for a grand celebration, a festival, to commemorate their resilience and the successful rebuilding efforts. Lanterns hung from every corner, casting a warm and inviting glow over the festivities. Music filled the air, and the sounds of laughter and joyful chatter echoed through the streets. Naru and Sasuke moved through the crowd, engaging with villagers and shinobi alike. Their presence was met with smiles and nods of respect, a testament to the admiration and trust the community had in their leaders. As the evening progressed, Naru found herself standing beside Sasuke beneath a blooming cherry blossom tree. The delicate petals swirled around them, carried by the gentle breeze, creating a serene and picturesque scene. Sasuke, Naru began, her voice soft yet filled with conviction. I've been thinking about our next steps. We've rebuilt our defenses and strengthened our training programs, but what about our diplomatic relations with other villages? We should consider fostering stronger alliances to ensure mutual support in times of need. Sasuke looked thoughtful, his eyes reflecting the vibrant colors of the evening sky. You're right. Strengthening our alliances can provide us with additional resources and intelligence, making us more resilient against any future threats. I've already reached out to some of the older allies, but there's still more we can do. Naru nodded, a plan forming in her mind. Perhaps we can organize joint training exercises and exchange programs. It would allow us to learn from each other and build trust among our shinobi. Collaboration is key to maintaining peace and stability in our region. Sasuke smiled, appreciating her proactive approach. That's a solid plan. I'll start working on the logistics and reach out to our counterparts in other villages. It's time we took our relationships to the next level. Their conversation was interrupted by the sound of fireworks exploding in the sky, a highlight of the festival that signified the celebration of their achievements and the hope for a prosperous future. The vibrant colors illuminated their faces, symbolizing the bright path that lay ahead. As the fireworks display reached its climax, Naru and Sasuke watched in silence, their hearts filled with a sense of accomplishment and unity. The journey they had undertaken together had transformed them, both individually and as a team, and the bond they shared was now the foundation upon which the future of Konoha would be built. After the fireworks had faded into the night, the villagers continued to celebrate, their spirits lifted by the shared sense of victory and renewal. Naru and Sasuke took a moment to reflect on their journey, understanding that their story was far from over, but confident in their ability to face whatever challenges came their way. As the festival wound down and the village settled into a peaceful evening, Naru and Sasuke found themselves alone once more, standing at the edge of the village where the forest met the open fields. The cool night air was filled with the sounds of crickets and the rustling of leaves, a gentle reminder of the serenity that now prevailed. "Naru," Sasuke began, his voice contemplative, "there's something I need to tell you." Naru turned to face him, curiosity and concern evident in her eyes. "What is it?" Sasuke took a deep breath, his gaze steady. "I've been reflecting on everything we've been through, the battles, the losses, the healing. I realized that my quest for revenge was consuming me, but working with you has shown me a different path. A path of strength through unity and compassion." Naru smiled, her heart swelling with pride. "I'm glad you see that, Sasuke. It wasn't easy for me either, but our bond has made all the difference. We're stronger together, and we can achieve so much more as a team." Sasuke nodded, his expression resolute. "I want to continue building a future where we can protect our village and our loved ones without falling into the darkness that once threatened to engulf us. I want to be a leader who inspires others to find their strength through bonds, just like we have." Naru reached out, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You already are that leader, Sasuke. Your strength and determination have been instrumental in everything we've accomplished. I believe in you, and I know that together, we can create a legacy that honors our family and our village." Their conversation was a moment of affirmation, a reaffirmation of their commitment to each other and to the village they held dear. The challenges they had faced had only strengthened their resolve, and their unity was now a guiding light for all who looked up to them. As the night deepened, Naru and Sasuke stood together, their silhouettes framed by the soft glow of the moon. They knew that the path ahead would still hold obstacles and uncertainties, but they were ready to face them with courage and determination. The future was bright, and with their bond as their foundation, they were prepared to embrace whatever came next. The Hidden Leaf Village had emerged from the shadows of its past, stronger and more united than ever before. The lessons learned from their shared struggles had forged a resilient community, one that thrived on the principles of unity, support, and unwavering strength. Naru and Sasuke, as siblings and leaders, embodied these principles, guiding the village towards a future filled with hope and endless possibilities. As they walked back to their homes, hand in hand, Naru and Sasuke felt a profound sense of fulfillment. Their journey had been one of growth, understanding, and forgiveness, and it had culminated in a moment of peace and prosperity that they had fought so hard to achieve. The bonds they had forged, both within their family and within the community, were unbreakable, ensuring that the Hidden Leaf Village would continue to flourish for generations to come. The stars began to twinkle in the night sky, a silent witness to the dawn of a new era. Naru and Sasuke looked up, their hearts filled with gratitude and determination. They had faced their demons, conquered their fears, and emerged stronger than ever before. Their bond was their greatest strength, a beacon of hope that would guide them through any darkness that lay ahead. As they reached their respective homes, they shared a final glance, a silent promise of continued unity and support. The village was safe, their bond was unbroken, and their future was bright. Together, they had rebuilt not just the village, but also the very essence of what it meant to be a family and a community. And so, as the night embraced the village in its peaceful slumber, Naru and Sasuke settled into their homes, their hearts at ease. The journey of rebuilding was complete, but the journey of leading and protecting their home was just beginning. With the strength of their bond and the support of their community, they were ready to face whatever challenges the future held, united as siblings and as leaders of the Hidden Leaf Village. ###Epilogue, a legacy of unity. Years passed, and the Hidden Leaf Village continued to thrive under the leadership of Naru and Sasuke. Their efforts had not only restored the village, but had also transformed it into a symbol of unity and strength. The training programs they had established produced generations of skilled and compassionate shinobi, each one inspired by the legacy of their leaders. Naru, now a revered figure in the village, continued to champion the importance of community support and resilience. Her initiatives ensured that every villager felt valued and protected, fostering a culture of mutual respect and cooperation. Her leadership was characterized by empathy and strategic brilliance, making her a beloved and respected leader. Sasuke, on the other hand, had become a master tactician and a guardian of the village's defenses. His training programs were renowned for their rigor and effectiveness, producing shinobi who were not only strong but also wise and thoughtful. His understanding of the balance between strength and compassion had made him an exemplary leader, one who was both feared and admired. Together, Naruto and Sasuke had built a legacy that transcended their individual strengths. Their bond had become a symbol of what could be achieved when unity and understanding were prioritized over rivalry and conflict. The village prospered, its people united by the shared vision of their leaders, and the bonds they had forged through their journey served as a foundation for a peaceful and prosperous future. As they stood once more on the balcony of the Hokage's office, looking out over the village that had become a testament to their resilience, Naruto and Sasuke felt a profound sense of fulfillment. They had overcome their past, healed their wounds, and built a future that honored their legacy and the legacy of the Hidden Leaf Village. "Look how far we've come," Naruto said softly, her hand resting on Sasuke's shoulder. Sasuke smiled, his eyes reflecting the pride and hope they both felt. "We've done it together. And we'll continue to do so, no matter what comes our way." Their journey had been one of growth, understanding, and unbreakable bonds. As leaders and siblings, Naruto and Sasuke had shown the world the true power of unity and the strength that comes from unwavering support and love. Their story was a beacon of hope, a reminder that no matter how dark the past, the future could always be rebuilt with resilience, compassion, and the enduring power of family. And so, as the sun set on another peaceful day in the Hidden Leaf Village, Naruto and Sasuke walked together into the future, ready to embrace whatever challenges and opportunities lay ahead. Their legacy was secure, their bond unbreakable, and their hearts filled with the hope and determination that had guided them through their journey. Together, they were ready to face the dawn of new beginnings, confident in their ability to protect their home and inspire generations to come. The end to my story.